Close your eyes and drift back through time, across the windswept plateau of Iran, where ancient caravan routes connected east and west, where the scent of jasmine and roses filled royal gardens, where the eternal flame burned in fire temples, and where poets sang of love and loss beneath stars that seemed close enough to touch. Listen, can you hear the gentle sound of water flowing through Persian gardens, the soft murmur of evening prayers in Zoroastrian temples, the distant music of reed flutes carried on the mountain wind? These peaceful sounds echo across the centuries, connecting us to a civilization that valued beauty, truth, and the eternal struggle between light and darkness. Our journey begins in the mists of prehistory, when the first Persian tribes descended from the Eurasian steppes onto the Iranian plateau, driving their flocks before them, following ancient paths known only to the wind and the migrating birds that darken the sky each spring and autumn. These early Persians, whose name meant the people of the horses, were part of the great Indo-European migration that brought new languages, new technologies, and new ways of understanding the divine to lands that had known only local gods and tribal customs for thousands of years. They were nomads, living in felt tents that could be packed and moved with the seasons, following their herds of horses, cattle, and sheep across grasslands that stretched beyond the horizon. Their wealth was counted in animals, their status measured by skill with bow and horse, their wisdom preserved in oral traditions passed down through generations of storytellers. The Iranian plateau that became their home was a land of contrasts: snow-capped mountains and scorching deserts, fertile valleys and barren salt flats, oases where date palms provided shade and rivers that disappeared into sand. It was a harsh land that bred a hardy people, yet also a beautiful land that inspired poets and dreamers. Gradually, over centuries, some of these nomadic tribes settled in the valleys and oases, learning to cultivate the soil and build permanent dwellings. They brought with them their gods of sky and storm, fire and light, adapting these ancient deities to their new circumstances while maintaining the fundamental beliefs that would eventually blossom into Zoroastrianism. The early Persians worshipped Ahura Mazda, the wise lord who created the world through the power of thought and word. This deity was associated with light, truth, and cosmic order, opposed by Angra Mainyu, the destructive spirit of darkness, lies, and chaos. Life was seen as a cosmic battlefield where humans must choose between good and evil. This dualistic worldview, with its emphasis on moral choice and personal responsibility, would profoundly influence Persian culture, and through Persian rule, the religious and philosophical traditions of much of the ancient world. The concept that each person must choose between light and darkness, truth and falsehood, became central to Persian identity. Fire played a crucial role in Persian religion, not as an object of worship, but as a symbol of divine light and purity. Sacred fires burned continuously in temples throughout the Persian lands, tended by priests who maintained the ancient rituals and preserved the sacred hymns known as the Gathas. The Persian tribes gradually organized themselves into kingdoms centered on fortified cities in the fertile valleys of the plateau. The Medes established their capital at Ecbatana, modern Hamadan, while the Persians proper settled in the region of Fars, building their early centers at Anshan and later at Pasargadae. These early Persian kingdoms learned much from the sophisticated civilizations that surrounded them: the Assyrians with their military innovations, the Babylonians with their astronomy and mathematics, the Lydians with their coinage and trade networks. Yet they maintained their distinct identity and religious traditions. Around 628 BCE, in the ancient city of Balkh in what is now Afghanistan, a prophet was born who would transform Persian religion and, through it, influence the entire course of human spiritual development. His name was Zarathustra, though the Greeks called him Zoroaster, and his teachings would echo through Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. According to tradition, Zoroaster received his revelation at the age of 30 while praying beside a sacred river. Ahura Mazda appeared to him in a vision, commissioning him to preach the true religion to humanity. This encounter marked the beginning of Zoroastrianism, one of the world's first monotheistic faiths. Zoroaster's teachings emphasize the cosmic struggle between good and evil, the importance of good thoughts, good words, and good deeds, and the ultimate triumph of light over darkness. He taught that at the end of time, the dead would be resurrected and judged, with the righteous entering paradise and the wicked being purified through fire. These ideas, monotheism, final judgment, resurrection of the dead, paradise and hell, would profoundly influence later religious traditions. The Persian emphasis on moral choice and personal responsibility created a religious framework that could accommodate diverse peoples while maintaining core ethical principles. Zoroaster's teachings spread gradually throughout the Persian tribes, carried by traveling priests, and adopted by kings who saw in this religion a unifying force that could bind together diverse peoples under a common moral framework. The wise lord's message of tolerance and truth appealed to both rulers and subjects. As Persian religious ideas developed, so did Persian political power. In the mid-6th century BCE, a Persian prince named Cyrus inherited the throne of Anshan, a small kingdom that was technically subject to the powerful Median Empire. But Cyrus had greater ambitions than ruling a minor principality. Cyrus II, who would become known to history as Cyrus the Great, embodied the Persian ideals of kingship that Zoroaster had taught, the ruler as servant of Ahura Mazda, responsible for justice, protection of the weak, and the establishment of truth throughout the world. These ideals would guide his conquest of the largest empire in history. In 550 BCE, Cyrus led the Persian tribes in revolt against their Median overlords, capturing Ecbatana and overthrowing King Astyages. But rather than destroying the Median nobility, Cyrus incorporated them into his administration, beginning the Persian tradition of ruling through existing elites rather than imposing direct Persian control. This policy of tolerance and inclusion would become the hallmark of Persian rule. Unlike the Assyrians, who had ruled through terror and deportation, the Persians respected local customs, religions, and traditions. They saw themselves not as conquerors but as liberators, freeing peoples from oppressive rulers and restoring proper order to the world. Cyrus's next target was Lydia, the wealthy kingdom in western Anatolia ruled by King Croesus, whose name had become synonymous with fabulous wealth. The famous story of Croesus consulting the oracle at Delphi being told that if he attacked Cyrus he would destroy a great empire reflects the anxiety that Persian expansion caused throughout the ancient world. The empire that Croesus destroyed, of course, was his own. Cyrus defeated the Lydian army and captured Sardis in 546 BCE, but his treatment of the defeated king became legendary for its mercy. Rather than executing Croesus, Cyrus spared his life and made him a trusted advisor, demonstrating the Persian belief that wisdom could be found among all peoples. With Lydia conquered, Cyrus controlled the Greek cities of Ionia, bringing the Persians into direct contact with Greek civilization for the first time. The tolerance shown to these cities, which were allowed to maintain their traditional forms of government and religious practices, set the pattern for Persian rule throughout their vast empire. But Cyrus's greatest achievement was his conquest of Babylon in 539 BCE. The Neo-Babylonian Empire was the last remaining great power in the Near East, and its capital was considered the greatest city in the world. Yet Babylon fell to Cyrus without a battle, its gates opened by priests and citizens who welcomed him as a liberator. The Cyrus cylinder, discovered by archaeologists in the 19th century, records the Persian king's policies in his own words. He presents himself not as a conqueror, but as a restorer of proper worship, someone chosen by the god Marduk to end the impious rule of Nabonidus and return the statues of gods to their proper temples. Most famously, Cyrus freed the Jewish exiles who had been deported to Babylon by Nebuchadnezzar, allowing them to return to Jerusalem and rebuild their temple. This act of religious tolerance earned Cyrus a unique honor in the Hebrew Bible. He is the only Gentile called Messiah, Anointed One, praised as a servant of the God of Israel. The Persian Empire under Cyrus stretched from the Aegean Sea to Central Asia, from the Caucasus to the Persian Gulf. It was by far the largest political entity the world had ever seen, encompassing dozens of different peoples, languages, and religions. Yet it was held together not by oppression, but by a revolutionary approach to imperial governance. Cyrus died in 530 BCE while campaigning against nomadic tribes in Central Asia, but his policies and ideals lived on. His son Cambyses continued the expansion, conquering Egypt and adding the wealth of the Nile to the Persian treasury. The empire now controlled virtually all the civilized world from India to Greece. The conquest of Egypt in 525 BCE brought new challenges and opportunities. Egypt was the oldest and most conservative civilization in the ancient world, with religious traditions stretching back over 3 millennia. Yet the Persians approached Egyptian culture with their characteristic tolerance and respect. Cambyses, following his father's example, presented himself to the Egyptians not as a foreign conqueror, but as a legitimate pharaoh chosen by the gods to restore proper order. He participated in Egyptian religious ceremonies, supported the traditional priesthood, and maintained the ancient administrative system that had governed the Nile Valley for thousands of years. However, Cambyses died under mysterious circumstances while returning from Egypt, and the empire faced its first major crisis. A usurper named Gaumata claimed the throne, sparking rebellions throughout the provinces. The vast empire that Cyrus had built seemed on the verge of collapse just 30 years after its creation. Salvation came from an unexpected source, a young Persian noble named Darius, who was related to the royal family but had no obvious claim to the throne. Gathering a small group of conspirators, Darius assassinated the usurper and fought a series of campaigns to restore order throughout the empire. Darius I, who ruled from 522 to 486 BCE, proved to be an even greater administrator than Cyrus had been a conqueror. He divided the empire into provinces called satrapies, each governed by a satrap who was responsible for maintaining order, collecting taxes, and providing troops for the royal army. The genius of the satrapy system was its combination of central control with local autonomy. Each satrap was a powerful provincial governor, often a member of the Persian nobility, but he was balanced by royal inspectors known as the eyes and ears of the king, who reported directly to the royal court. Darius also established a comprehensive legal code that respected local customs while maintaining Persian principles of justice. The concept of equality before the law, regardless of ethnicity or religion, was revolutionary for its time and helped create loyalty to the Persian crown among diverse subject peoples. Perhaps most importantly, Darius built the infrastructure that held the empire together. The royal road stretched over 1,500 miles from Sardis to Susa, with rest stations every 15 miles where royal messengers could change horses. This postal system allowed communications to travel the length of the empire in just over a week. Persian roads connected not just the administrative centers, but also the sacred sites, trade routes, and cultural centers that gave meaning to people's lives. Pilgrims could travel safely from temple to temple, merchants could transport goods across vast distances, and ideas could spread throughout the known world under Persian protection. As evening falls across the Persian Empire, we can imagine the peaceful sounds that echoed from Sardis to Samarkand. The gentle splash of fountains in Persian gardens, where roses and jasmine perfumed the evening air, the soft chanting from fire temples where the sacred flames burned continuously in honor of Ahura Mazda. The distant music of court musicians playing the santur and ney, the murmur of families gathering for the evening meal around low tables covered with Persian carpets, the night call of the muezzin from newly built mosques standing beside ancient fire temples in perfect harmony. But Darius's greatest achievement was the creation of Persepolis, the ceremonial capital that embodied Persian ideals in stone and gold. Built on a massive artificial terrace overlooking the plain of Marvdasht, Persepolis was designed as a showcase of imperial power and a center for the annual New Year celebrations that renewed the king's divine mandate. The Great Audience Hall, or a padana, could hold thousands of representatives from throughout the empire. Its massive columns, carved with capitals depicting bulls and lions, supported a roof that seemed to float like the heavens themselves. Here, every spring, delegations from every corner of the empire came to offer tribute and renew their allegiance to the King of Kings. The relief carvings that adorn the walls of Persepolis show this annual ceremony in magnificent detail. Representatives of 23 different peoples climb the great staircase, each group wearing their traditional dress and carrying the products of their homeland: gold from Lydia, horses from Central Asia, exotic animals from Africa and India. These reliefs are remarkable not just for their artistic beauty, but for their message of tolerance and inclusion. Each people is depicted with dignity and respect, their offerings received graciously by the Persian king. This was propaganda, certainly, but propaganda based on genuine Persian policies of cultural accommodation. The Persian concept of kingship, influenced by Zoroastrian theology, presented the ruler as the earthly representative of Ahura Mazda, responsible for maintaining truth and justice throughout the world. The king's legitimacy depended not on birth alone, but on his ability to uphold these divine principles. This created a unique form of absolute monarchy that was nevertheless bound by moral and religious constraints. Persian kings could not rule arbitrarily, but had to justify their actions in terms of divine will and cosmic order. The system created stable government while providing mechanisms for change and reform. Persian art and architecture reflected these ideals, combining elements from throughout the empire into a distinctive imperial style. Persian craftsmen learned from Mesopotamian brickwork, Egyptian sculpture, Greek carving, and Central Asian metalwork, creating an artistic synthesis that was truly international in scope. The famous Persian carpets, whose intricate patterns and brilliant colors still enchant viewers today, were first woven during this period. These textiles, depicting the paradise gardens that were central to Persian religious imagery, became symbols of Persian culture and were treasured throughout the ancient world. Persian gardens themselves were revolutionary innovations in landscape design. Based on the Zoroastrian vision of paradise as a walled garden watered by 4 rivers, these gardens combined practical irrigation with spiritual symbolism, creating spaces that were both beautiful and meaningful. The Persian word for paradise, paradisa, meant walled around and referred to these enclosed gardens where geometric patterns of flowers, trees, and water channels created earthly images of heavenly perfection. This concept of the garden as paradise spread throughout the world and continues to influence landscape design today. But Persian expansion eventually brought conflict with the rising power of Greece. The Ionian Revolt of 499 BCE, when the Greek cities of Asia Minor rebelled against Persian rule, marked the beginning of a series of conflicts that would test the strength and resilience of the Persian Empire. Darius's decision to punish Athens and Eretria for supporting the Ionian rebels led to the first Persian invasion of Greece in 490 BCE. The Persian force was relatively small, intended more as a punitive expedition than a full-scale conquest, but its defeat at Marathon shocked the Persian court and made heroes of the Athenian soldiers. The Battle of Marathon became legendary in Greek tradition, but from the Persian perspective, it was merely a minor setback in a far-flung province. The empire was vast, and Greek resistance was localized. Darius began planning a much larger invasion that would finally bring the troublesome Greek cities under proper Persian authority. Darius died in 486 BCE before he could launch this campaign, but his son Xerxes inherited both the throne and the determination to complete his father's work. The invasion that Xerxes launched in 480 BCE was the largest military expedition the ancient world had ever seen, with forces drawn from every corner of the Persian Empire. Herodotus, the Greek historian who chronicled these events, describes the Persian army as including Persians and Medes in their traditional dress, Assyrians with bronze helmets, Babylonians with linen corselets, Indians with cotton clothing and bamboo bows, Scythians with pointed caps, and many others. The diversity of this force reflected the international character of the Persian Empire, but it also created logistical challenges. Coordinating and supplying an army of perhaps 200,000 men, far smaller than Herodotus's inflated figures, but still enormous by ancient standards, required organizational skills that the Persians had never before tested on such a scale. The Greek resistance at Thermopylae, where 300 Spartans and their allies held the narrow pass for 3 days, demonstrated both the courage of individual Greeks and the tactical challenges facing the Persian army. The Persian victory was inevitable, but the cost in time and morale was significant. The burning of Athens was a Pyrrhic victory for Xerxes, as the Athenians had evacuated their city and taken to their ships. The subsequent Persian defeat at Salamis, where the smaller but more maneuverable Greek fleet destroyed much of the Persian navy, forced Xerxes to withdraw most of his army to Asia. The final Persian defeat at Plataea in 479 BCE ended Persian hopes of conquering mainland Greece, but it did not seriously weaken the empire as a whole. The Greek victories were important for Greek independence, but from the Persian perspective, they were frontier conflicts that did not threaten the heartland of the empire. The Persian Empire continued to prosper for another century and a half after the Greek wars, controlling vast territories and enormous wealth. The gold of Lydia, the agriculture of Mesopotamia, the trade routes of Central Asia, and the tribute of dozens of subject peoples continued to flow into the Persian treasury. Persian culture during this period reached new heights of sophistication and refinement. The court at Persepolis became a center of learning where scholars from throughout the known world gathered to study astronomy, mathematics, medicine, and philosophy. The Persian language became the lingua franca of trade and diplomacy from the Mediterranean to India. Persian poetry, though most of it has been lost, was renowned throughout the ancient world for its beauty and wisdom. The tradition of courtly verse that would later produce masters like Ferdowsi, Hafez, and Rumi had its origins in the Achaemenid court, where poets celebrated the deeds of kings and the beauty of the natural world. The Persian emphasis on truth-telling, one of the fundamental principles of Zoroastrian ethics, created a culture that valued honesty and directness in both personal relationships and political affairs. This ethical framework helped maintain trust between the diverse peoples of the empire and the Persian administration. Persian educational practices emphasized the development of character as much as intellectual skills. Young Persian nobles were taught to ride, to shoot the bow, and to speak the truth, a curriculum that prepared them for both military leadership and moral responsibility in governing the empire. The role of women in Persian society was more prominent than in many ancient civilizations. Persian queens like Atossa and Esther, if the biblical account is historical, wielded significant political influence, while Zoroastrian teaching emphasized the spiritual equality of men and women before Ahura Mazda. Persian religious tolerance extended beyond mere political expediency to reflect genuine theological principles. Zoroastrian teaching held that all peoples could serve the cause of light and truth, regardless of their specific religious practices, as long as they upheld fundamental moral principles. This tolerance created a cosmopolitan empire where ideas, technologies, and artistic styles flowed freely between different regions and cultures. The Persian Empire became a vast laboratory for cultural exchange, fostering innovations that would influence human civilization for millennia. Persian administrative innovations, particularly in taxation and provincial government, provided models that would be adopted by later empires. The concept of efficient, professional administration based on merit rather than birth was revolutionary for its time and contributed to the empire's longevity. As we drift through these golden centuries of Persian rule, we can imagine the peaceful evening sounds in the great cities of the empire, the gentle murmur of water flowing through garden channels in Persepolis, the soft chanting of priests tending the sacred fires in temples throughout the realm, the distant music of court orchestras performing for royal banquets where officials from throughout the empire gathered to celebrate Persian festivals, the quiet conversations of scholars in the royal libraries of Susa and Ecbatana, discussing philosophy and science beneath starlit Persian skies. The rustling of silk curtains in palace windows where Persian nobles planned expeditions to distant provinces, the gentle laughter of children playing in courtyard gardens where fountains played among roses and cypresses, the night songs of poets celebrating the glory of the King of Kings. But this golden age was not destined to last forever. In 334 BCE, a young Macedonian king named Alexander crossed the Hellespont with an army of 35,000 men, beginning a campaign that would destroy the Persian Empire and change the course of world history. Alexander's invasion was not simply another Greek raid, but a systematic campaign to conquer the entire Persian Empire. Unlike previous Greek leaders who had been content with local victories, Alexander sought to replace Persian rule with Macedonian hegemony throughout the known world. The Persian response was hampered by political divisions within the royal family and the empire's sheer size, which made rapid coordination of defenses difficult. Darius III, the last Persian king, was a capable administrator, but lacked the military genius needed to counter Alexander's innovative tactics. The decisive battle came at Gaugamela in 331 BCE, where Alexander's disciplined phalanxes and cavalry charges broke the larger Persian army. Darius III fled the battlefield, and with him fled the last hopes of organized Persian resistance to Macedonian conquest. But Alexander's conquest was not simply destructive. The young king, influenced by Persian ideas about kingship and administration, gradually adopted Persian court customs and incorporated Persian nobles into his administration. He saw himself as the heir to the Persian Empire, not merely its destroyer. Alexander's marriage to Roxana, a Persian princess, and his adoption of Persian court dress and protocol scandalized his Macedonian followers, but reflected his genuine appreciation for Persian culture and his understanding that the empire could only be governed through cooperation between Greeks and Persians. The mass wedding at Susa in 324 BCE, where Alexander and 80 of his officers married Persian noblewomen, was intended to create a new ruling class that combined Greek and Persian bloodlines. Though most of these marriages did not survive Alexander's death, they demonstrated his vision of cultural fusion. Alexander died in Babylon in 323 BCE at the age of 32, leaving behind an empire that stretched from Macedonia to India, but no clear succession plan. His generals, known as the Diadochi successors, fought for control of different parts of his conquests, eventually dividing the empire among themselves. In the Persian heartland, the Seleucid dynasty established control over most of the former Persian territories, ruling from Antioch in Syria, but maintaining Babylon and Seleucia on Tigris as important administrative centers. The Seleucids continued many Persian administrative practices while introducing Greek cultural elements. However, Persian independence was not completely extinguished. In the region of Fars, the ancestral homeland of the Persian people, local dynasties maintained semi-autonomous rule under nominal Greek suzerainty. These kingdoms preserved Persian traditions and served as centers for the eventual Persian revival. Around 247 BCE, the Parthians, an Iranian people from the northeastern provinces, began expanding their control over former Persian territories. Under their leader Arsaces I, they established a new empire that would challenge Roman power for over 4 centuries. The Parthian Empire was in many ways a restoration of Persian ideals and institutions. Though ethnically distinct from the Persians proper, the Parthians shared Iranian cultural traditions and Zoroastrian religious beliefs. They presented themselves as the legitimate heirs to the Achaemenid heritage. Parthian military tactics, based on mounted archery and heavy cavalry, proved highly effective against both Seleucid phalanxes and Roman legions. The famous Parthian shot, where mounted archers would retreat while firing arrows backward at pursuing enemies, became synonymous with deceptive military maneuvers. The Parthians established their capital at Ctesiphon, across the Tigris from the ancient city of Babylon. This location connected them to both Persian imperial traditions and the commercial networks that had always been crucial to controlling the Iranian plateau and Mesopotamia. Under Parthian rule, Zoroastrianism experienced a revival, though it was a more decentralized and diverse form of the religion than had existed under the Achaemenids. Fire temples were rebuilt throughout the empire, and the oral traditions that preserved Zoroaster's teachings were finally committed to writing. The Parthians proved to be Rome's most persistent and capable enemies, inflicting several major defeats on Roman armies and preventing Roman expansion beyond the Euphrates. The Battle of Carrhae in 53 BCE, where the Roman general Crassus was killed and his army destroyed, demonstrated Parthian military effectiveness. Parthian culture blended Iranian traditions with Hellenistic influences inherited from the Seleucids, creating a distinctive artistic style that appeared in architecture, sculpture, and decorative arts throughout their empire. Parthian palaces combined Persian garden layouts with Greek architectural elements. The Parthian period also saw the development of new forms of Persian literature and art. Though most Parthian literary works have been lost, they influenced the later revival of Persian culture under the Sassanids and contributed to the rich tradition of Persian poetry and storytelling. Trade flourished under Parthian rule, as their empire controlled the crucial Silk Road routes that connected China with the Mediterranean world. Parthian merchants became wealthy middlemen in the trade in silk, spices, and precious goods that flowed between East and West. The city of Merv, in modern Turkmenistan, became one of the largest cities in the world under Parthian rule, serving as a major commercial and administrative center. Its ruins, recently excavated by archaeologists, reveal the cosmopolitan character of Parthian urban civilization. However, the Parthian Empire gradually weakened due to succession disputes, pressure from Roman armies, and the rise of local dynasties that challenged central authority. By the early 3rd century CE, the empire was ripe for overthrow by a new Iranian dynasty with even grander ambitions. Around 224 CE, Ardashir I, a prince from Fars and descendant of a priest named Sassan, defeated the last Parthian king and established the Sassanid Empire. The Sassanids presented themselves as the true heirs to the Achaemenid Persians, claiming to restore the glory and purity of the ancient empire. The Sassanid period, 224–651 CE, represented the final flowering of ancient Persian civilization. Under rulers like Shapur I, Khosrow I, and Khosrow II, the empire reached new heights of military power, administrative efficiency, and cultural achievement. Sassanid Persia became Rome's equal and rival, controlling territories from the Caucasus to the Arabian Sea, from Central Asia to the Syrian desert. The two empires fought numerous wars but also influenced each other profoundly, creating a shared civilization that spanned the ancient world. The Sassanids made Zoroastrianism the official state religion, establishing a powerful priestly hierarchy that standardized religious practices and compiled the sacred texts known as the Avesta. This religious revival gave the empire a strong ideological foundation and cultural unity. Sassanid art and architecture reached extraordinary levels of sophistication, combining Persian traditions with influences from India, Central Asia, and the Mediterranean world. The palace at Ctesiphon, with its enormous barrel vault, was considered one of the architectural wonders of the ancient world. The famous rock reliefs at Nakshi Rustem and Bishapur depicted Sassanid kings, receiving divine investiture from Ahura Mazda, defeating Roman emperors, and presiding over religious ceremonies. These monuments proclaimed Persian power and piety to all who traveled the royal roads. Sassanid textiles, particularly silk fabrics woven with intricate patterns depicting royal hunts, mythological creatures, and geometric designs, were treasured throughout the known world. These textiles spread Persian artistic motifs from China to Europe and influenced decorative arts for centuries. The Sassanid court at Ctesiphon became a center of learning where scholars from many different traditions gathered to study philosophy, astronomy, medicine, and other sciences. The famous House of Wisdom attracted thinkers from India, Greece, Syria, and other intellectual centers. Persian medicine during the Sassanid period was particularly advanced, drawing on traditions from Greece, India, and Mesopotamia to create comprehensive medical systems. Sassanid physicians were renowned throughout the ancient world for their skill in surgery, pharmacology, and diagnosis. The Persian game of chess, shatranj, was developed during this period, evolving from an Indian predecessor but taking on distinctly Persian characteristics. The game's royal and military pieces reflected Persian court hierarchy, and chess became a favorite pastime of Persian nobles. Persian poetry flourished under the Sassanids, though most of these works survive only in later Arabic and New Persian translations. The epic traditions that would later produce Ferdowsi's Shahnameh, Book of Kings, had their origins in Sassanid court poetry celebrating the deeds of ancient heroes. As evening falls across the Sassanid Empire, we can imagine the peaceful sounds of this final golden age. The gentle splash of fountains in the royal gardens of Ctesiphon, where peacocks walked among rose bushes, and the evening air was perfumed with jasmine and orange blossoms. The soft chanting of Zoroastrian priests in fire temples throughout the empire, where the sacred flames had burned continuously for centuries, maintained by hereditary guardians who preserved the ancient prayers and rituals in their original sacred language. The distant music of court entertainers performing for royal banquets, where silk-clad nobles reclined on precious carpets and discussed philosophy, poetry, and the administration of their vast empire, while servants offered delicacies from throughout the known world. The gentle murmur of scholars in the royal libraries, where Syrian Christians, Indian mathematicians, Greek philosophers, and Persian magi worked together to translate and preserve the wisdom of ages, creating the intellectual foundation for the later Islamic Golden Age. But this magnificent civilization was approaching its end. The constant wars with Byzantium, the Christian successor to the Roman Empire, had exhausted both empires and left them vulnerable to new forces emerging from the Arabian Peninsula. The rise of Islam in the early 7th century brought a new religious and political dynamic to the Middle East. The Arab armies that emerged from the desert carried not just military force, but a revolutionary message that appealed to many subjects of both the Persian and Byzantine empires. The decisive battle came at Qadisiyah in 636 CE, where Arab forces defeated a much larger Sassanid army. The Persian king Yazdijerd III fled eastward, and within a few years, the entire Sassanid Empire had fallen to the Arab conquest, ending over a millennium of Persian imperial rule. Yet the Arab conquest was not the end of Persian civilization, but rather its transformation. The victorious Arabs, themselves influenced by Persian administrative systems and cultural traditions, preserved much of what they conquered while adding new Islamic elements. Many Persian nobles converted to Islam and served in high positions in the new Islamic empire. Persian administrative practices, refined over centuries of imperial rule, proved invaluable to the Arabs as they governed their vast conquests from Spain to Central Asia. The Persian language gradually absorbed Arabic vocabulary and script, evolving into New Persian, Farsi, which became the literary language of much of the Islamic world. Persian poetry, philosophy, and scholarship flourished under Islamic rule, reaching even greater heights than before. Persian artists and craftsmen found new patrons among the Islamic rulers, creating magnificent works that blended Persian traditions with Islamic themes. The geometric patterns and calligraphy that characterize Islamic art owe much to Persian aesthetic traditions. Zoroastrianism, though no longer the state religion, was recognized by Islamic law as a protected religion of the book. Zoroastrian communities continued to practice their faith, particularly in remote areas of Iran and in the Parsi communities that migrated to India. The influence of Zoroastrian thought on Islam was profound, particularly in concepts of divine judgment, paradise and hell, and the cosmic struggle between good and evil. Many Islamic theological concepts show clear Persian origins, filtered through Jewish and Christian intermediaries. Persian administrative traditions lived on in the Islamic Caliphate, where Persian bureaucrats often held the highest positions and Persian protocols governed court ceremonies. The famous Barmakid family, who served as viziers to the Abbasid caliphs, exemplified this continuation of Persian administrative excellence. Under the Abbasids, who moved the Islamic capital from Damascus to Baghdad, near ancient Babylon, Persian influence reached its peak. The new capital was built according to Persian principles of urban planning, with the caliph's palace at the center of a circular city. The translation movement that brought Greek philosophy and science into Arabic was largely carried out by Persian scholars who had preserved these traditions through the Sassanid period. The House of Wisdom in Baghdad became the heir to the scholarly traditions of ancient Ctesiphon. Persian poetry experienced a remarkable renaissance in the Islamic period, producing masterpieces that are still read and loved today. Ferdowsi's Shahnameh preserved the epic traditions of pre-Islamic Persia, while poets like Hafez and Rumi explored themes of love, mysticism, and divine transcendence. The Persian garden tradition was adapted to Islamic contexts, where the paradise garden became a symbol of divine grace and spiritual perfection. These gardens influenced landscape design throughout the Islamic world and beyond, from the Alhambra in Spain to the Taj Mahal in India. Persian miniature painting reached extraordinary levels of refinement, depicting scenes from classical literature, court life, and mystical visions with exquisite detail and brilliant color. These works influenced artistic traditions from Turkey to India and remain among the world's greatest artistic treasures. The Persian concept of kingship, with its emphasis on justice, protection of the weak, and divine mandate profoundly influenced Islamic political theory. The mirrors for Prince's literature, which advised rulers on just governance, drew heavily on Persian traditions of royal wisdom. Sufi mysticism, which became central to Islamic spirituality, showed strong Persian influences in its emphasis on divine love, spiritual transformation, and the quest for union with the divine. Many of the greatest Sufi poets and teachers were Persian or wrote in Persian. Persian merchants and diplomats carried these cultural influences far beyond the borders of Persia itself. The Silk Road, which had always been crucial to Persian prosperity, became a conduit for Persian artistic and intellectual traditions to reach China, India, and Southeast Asia. The Mongol invasions of the 13th century brought new challenges, but also new opportunities for Persian culture. Mongol rulers, particularly in Persia and Central Asia, adopted Persian administrative systems and patronized Persian artists and scholars, ensuring the continuation of Persian traditions. Under the Ilkhanate, the Mongol dynasty that ruled Persia, Persian art and architecture experienced a remarkable flowering. The tomb of Al-Jaytu at Sultaniye, with its enormous dome and intricate tilework, exemplified the synthesis of Mongol patronage and Persian artistic genius. The Timurid period, late 14th to early 16th centuries, saw another Persian cultural renaissance, centered in Samarkand and Herat. Timurid rulers like Shah Rukh and Hussein Baykara were great patrons of Persian literature and art, supporting poets, calligraphers, and miniature painters. The establishment of the Safavid dynasty in 1501 marked the beginning of modern Iran and the restoration of Persian political independence after centuries of foreign rule. The Safavids made Twelver Shia Islam the state religion, creating a distinct Persian identity within the Islamic world. Safavid Isfahan, built by Shah Abbas I, became one of the most beautiful cities in the world, with its magnificent mosques, palaces, and gardens reflecting the full flowering of Persian architectural traditions adapted to Islamic requirements. As we drift through these later centuries of Persian cultural development, we can imagine the peaceful sounds of evening in the great Persian cities, the gentle splash of fountains in mosque courtyards where geometric patterns of water and light created earthly reflections of divine beauty, the soft murmur of scholars in madrasas and libraries, where Persian and Arabic texts preserved the wisdom of ages, while students from throughout the Islamic world came to study philosophy, poetry, astronomy, and the mystical traditions that promised direct experience of the divine. The distant music of court orchestras performing for royal celebration, where Persian poetry was recited, and the ancient traditions of hospitality created bonds between rulers and subjects, masters and servants, believers of different faiths who found common ground in Persian cultural values. The gentle rustling of silk curtains in palace windows, where Persian miniaturists worked by lamplight, creating exquisite illustrations for manuscripts that would preserve Persian stories and ideals for future generations. Each tiny brush stroke a prayer made visible. The night sounds of caravans departing for distant markets, carrying Persian carpets, textiles, and crafts that would spread Persian aesthetic influences from Morocco to Malaysia, continuing the ancient tradition of cultural exchange that had always been central to Persian identity. Persian culture continued to evolve and adapt through the Qajar and Pahlavi periods, always maintaining its essential characteristics while incorporating new influences from Europe and elsewhere. The Persian gift for cultural synthesis, first demonstrated under the Achaemenids, remained a defining feature of Persian civilization. Today, Persian cultural influences can be found throughout the world, in the Persian carpets that grace homes from New York to Tokyo, in the Persian gardens that inspired landscape designers from Andalusia to Kashmir, in the Persian poetry that continues to move readers in dozens of languages. The Persian language, in its modern form of Farsi, remains the literary language of Iran, Afghanistan, Dari, and Tajikistan, Tajik, connecting over 100 million speakers to a cultural tradition that stretches back over 2.5 millennia. Persian festivals like Nowruz, New Year, continue to be celebrated not just in Iran but throughout Central Asia and beyond, maintaining connections to ancient Zoroastrian traditions while adapting to modern circumstances and diverse religious contexts. The Persian emphasis on hospitality, respect for learning, and the cultivation of beauty in all aspects of life continues to influence cultures far beyond the Iranian plateau. Persian concepts of courtesy and refinement have become synonymous with civilization itself. Persian contributions to world culture, in poetry and philosophy, in art and architecture, in science and mathematics, in government and law, represent one of humanity's greatest cultural achievements, spanning 3 millennia and influencing every subsequent civilization. The story of ancient Persia reminds us that the greatest empires are those that give more than they take, that preserve and enhance the traditions of the peoples they rule, and that leave the world richer and more beautiful than they found it. As we rest in the gentle embrace of Persian history, we can reflect on the remarkable achievement of a people who began as nomadic shepherds on the Central Asian steppes and created a civilization that touched 3 continents and lasted for over 1,000 years. The Persian gift to humanity was not just political or military, but cultural and spiritual. The idea that diverse peoples could live together in peace, that beauty and truth were divine attributes to be cultivated in earthly life, and that the purpose of power was to serve justice and protect the innocent. In the quiet of the Persian evening, we can hear the echoes of ancient prayers and modern dreams, of Zoroaster's vision of cosmic justice and the poet's songs of divine love, of the eternal human quest for meaning and beauty that finds its expression in every culture touched by Persian influence. The gentle sound of water flowing through Persian gardens, as it has for over 2 millennia, carries with it the whispered voices of all who have found peace and inspiration in Persian culture, from Cyrus proclaiming the rights of conquered peoples to Rumi singing of the divine beloved. These voices blend into a chorus that speaks of human nobility and achievement, of the eternal desire to create something beautiful and lasting, to build bridges between different peoples and faiths, to find the divine light that illuminates all creation and gives meaning to human existence. The Persian eagle, symbol of imperial power and spiritual aspiration, has given way to other symbols in other times, but the Persian spirit, the dedication to truth, beauty, and justice, continues to inspire all who seek to create a more perfect world. Sleep peacefully now, surrounded by the gentle spirits of Persian history, knowing that you are part of the same human story that began on the Iranian plateau and continues wherever people gather to celebrate beauty, seek truth, and work for justice in an imperfect world. The ancient flames of the fire temples may no longer burn in their original locations, but the light they represented, the light of divine truth and human aspiration, continues to illuminate the path for all who seek meaning and purpose in life. In your dreams tonight, walk through the gardens of Persepolis, hear the poetry of Hafez recited in the courts of Isfahan, feel the peace that comes from knowing that human civilization has created works of lasting beauty that transcend the boundaries of time and culture. The Persian story ends as it began, with the eternal quest for paradise on earth, not through conquest or domination, but through the cultivation of truth, beauty, and love in all their forms, creating gardens of the spirit that bloom forever in the human heart. Rest now in the peaceful embrace of Persian wisdom, where the ancient and the eternal meet in the gentle Persian twilight, and let your dreams carry you back to a time when the world was full of possibility, and the human spirit dared to reach toward the divine light itself. The mountains of Iran sleep beneath stars that shone on Cyrus and Darius, Zoroaster and Hafez, and countless ordinary Persians whose names are forgotten, but whose lives contributed to the great tapestry of Persian civilization that shelters and inspires us still. In the gentle silence of the Persian night, we can feel the presence of all who contributed to this remarkable culture. The kings who sought to rule with justice, the poets who sang of divine love, the craftsmen who created beauty, the scholars who preserved wisdom. Their legacy flows through time like the waters of a Persian garden, nourishing every generation that appreciates beauty, seeks truth, and works for justice. The Persian gift to humanity lives on in every act of tolerance, every work of art, every effort to create harmony between different peoples. Sleep deeply now, knowing that you have journeyed through one of history's greatest civilizations, that you have walked with kings and poets, fire priests and philosophers, and that you carry within you the Persian vision of a world made beautiful by human effort and divine grace. The ancient roads that connected Persepolis to Samarkand, Isfahan to Delhi, may be buried beneath sand and time, but the cultural highways that Persian civilization created continue to carry ideas, artistic influences, and spiritual insights to every corner of the modern world. In the peaceful darkness of the Persian landscape, where the scent of roses and jasmine still perfumes the evening air, find rest, find dreams, and know that you are connected across the centuries to all who have found inspiration in Persian culture. The eternal flame of Zoroastrian wisdom may burn now in scattered temples around the world, but its light continues to illuminate the path toward truth and righteousness for all who seek to live lives of meaning and purpose. Rest peacefully, heir to Persian wisdom, knowing that the best of Persia lives on in every garden planted for beauty's sake, every poem written for love's sake, every act of hospitality extended to a stranger, every effort to create justice in an unjust world. The gentle murmur of Persian fountains carries the final echoes of our ancient story into the realm of dreams, where the achievements of the past inspire the possibilities of the future, and where the Persian vision of paradise becomes a reality for all who believe in its promise. In the timeless peace of the Persian garden, where earthly beauty reflects divine perfection, sleep now and always in the knowledge that human civilization is capable of creating lasting beauty, and that the Persian contribution to that beauty will endure as long as humans appreciate truth, love, and justice. The story of ancient Persia draws to its gentle close, but the greater story flows on like the waters of a mountain stream, carrying the accumulated wisdom of ages toward the infinite ocean of divine love that embraces all creation. Sleep deeply in the embrace of Persian peace, where the past and present merge in the eternal moment of divine grace, and let your dreams carry you through gardens of paradise, where every flower blooms with the beauty of truth and every fountain sings with the music of the spheres. The Persian legacy becomes one with the eternal flow of human aspiration, as the gentle currents of divine love carry all earthly achievements toward their completion in the infinite mystery that calls to every generation seeking truth and beauty. In the final silence where all of Persia's glory rests in perfect peace, let the ancient blessings of this remarkable civilization carry you gently into the deepest sleep, surrounded by love and inspired by the eternal promise of human greatness. The mountains and valleys of ancient Persia sleep beneath the blessing of stars that have watched over this land since Zoroaster first taught that light must triumph over darkness. And in that ancient peace, find rest, find dreams, and know that you are part of the eternal story. Sleep peacefully, traveler through Persian history, knowing that the gardens of paradise are not just a future promise, but a present reality for all who cultivate truth, beauty, and love in their hearts and lives, following the ancient Persian path toward the divine light. The gentle sound of water flowing through ancient channels carries you softly into sleep, into dreams of rose gardens and cypress groves, of poets and kings, of the remarkable human journey that began on the Iranian plateau and continues wherever the human spirit seeks its home in beauty. In the peaceful silence of the Persian evening, where all struggles find resolution and all dreams find fulfillment, rest deeply and know that you carry within you the eternal flame of Persian wisdom that burns brightest in hearts dedicated to truth and love. The Persian story becomes one with the eternal song of divine love, as the ancient voices join the celestial chorus, celebrating the beauty and meaning that humans can create when they dedicate their lives to serving something greater than themselves. Rest now in perfect peace, surrounded by the accumulated blessings of Persian civilization, knowing that the eternal garden blooms forever in the realm of divine love, where all seekers find their home and all dreams find their perfect fulfillment. The waters of eternity carry the legacy of ancient Persia toward the infinite sea of divine grace, where the Persian vision of paradise merges with the ultimate reality of perfect love and peace that embraces all creation in its gentle flow. In the gentle darkness where all of Persia's achievements rest in eternal peace, sleep now and always, knowing that you are beloved, that you are part of the great river of human civilization, and that you find your home in the infinite love that surrounds and sustains all existence. The ancient story of Persia draws to its peaceful conclusion, but the greater story of divine love flows on like the eternal waters of paradise, carrying the accumulated wisdom and beauty of human civilization toward the limitless horizon of divine possibility. Sleep deeply in the embrace of Persian eternity, where the temporal and eternal merge in perfect harmony, and let your dreams carry you through the gardens of the blessed, where every soul finds peace and every heart finds its home in infinite love. The gentle voices of Persian history fade into the whisper of eternity itself, but their message remains clear, that humans are capable of creating beauty that transcends time, that the pursuit of truth and justice is the highest calling, and that love is the ultimate reality. Rest peacefully now, heir to Persian greatness, knowing that the eternal garden blooms forever in the realm of divine love, where the achievements of ancient Persia continue to inspire all who seek truth, beauty, and meaning in their earthly journey. The Persian legacy flows on like the waters of paradise itself, carrying the dreams of Cyrus and Darius, Zoroaster and Hafez, toward the infinite mystery that calls to every generation and promises that love conquers all and peace reigns eternal. In the timeless silence where all stories find their completion, sleep deeply and dream of ancient glories and eternal truths, knowing that you are part of the great river of divine love that began in the Persian gardens and flows on toward infinity. The story of ancient Persia reaches its gentle conclusion in the realm of perfect peace, but the greater story of divine love flows on forever, carrying the blessings of human civilization toward the infinite horizon where all dreams become reality. Sleep now in the eternal peace of the Persian paradise, where the gardens of earth merge with the gardens of heaven, and where all who have ever sought beauty and truth find their ultimate home in the gentle embrace of infinite love. The ancient waters of Persian wisdom carry the final echoes of our journey toward the eternal sea of divine grace, where all achievements find their completion, all dreams find their fulfillment, and all hearts find their perfect rest. In the peaceful silence of eternity, where the Persian vision of paradise becomes the ultimate reality, rest now and always in the knowledge that you are beloved, that you are part of the eternal story, and that you find your home in infinite love. The gentle breezes of the Persian plateau carry the blessings of ancient wisdom toward the realm of eternal peace, where the achievements of the past inspire the infinite possibilities of the future in the endless cycle of divine love. Sleep deeply in the embrace of Persian peace, knowing that you have completed the great journey through one of history's most remarkable civilizations, and carry within you the eternal flame that illuminates the path toward truth, beauty, and divine love. The Persian story becomes one with the eternal flow of divine grace itself, as all human achievements merge with the infinite mystery that calls every generation to reach beyond itself towards something infinitely greater and more beautiful. Rest peacefully now, surrounded by the gentle spirits of Persian greatness, knowing that the eternal garden blooms forever in the realm of divine love, where all who seek truth and beauty find their ultimate fulfillment. The ancient flames of the fire temples join the eternal light of divine love, illuminating the path for all who seek to serve something greater than themselves, following the Persian example of dedication to truth, justice, and beauty. In the final silence where all of Persia's glory rests in perfect peace, let the accumulated blessings of this remarkable civilization carry you gently into the deepest sleep, surrounded by love and inspired by eternal possibilities. The Persian legacy flows on like the eternal waters of paradise, carrying the dreams and achievements of 3 millennia toward the infinite sea of divine love that embraces all creation in its gentle, eternal flow. Sleep now in the timeless peace of ancient Persia, where the vision of paradise on earth becomes the reality of perfect love in eternity, and where all dreams find their completion in the infinite embrace of divine grace. The gentle sound of fountains in Persian gardens fades into the eternal music of the spheres, carrying the final whispers of our ancient journey toward the realm of perfect peace, where all stories find their happy ending. In the peaceful darkness of the Persian night, where time and eternity merge in the perfect present of divine love, rest deeply and dream of infinite beauty, knowing that you are part of the eternal story that began in paradise and returns to paradise. The ancient story of Persia draws to its gentle close, but the greater story of divine love flows on like the eternal river, carrying the accumulated blessings of human civilization toward the infinite horizon of perfect peace and love. Sleep peacefully in the embrace of Persian eternity, where all who have ever sought beauty and truth find their home at last, and where the gentle waters of divine love carry all dreams toward their perfect fulfillment in infinite peace. 100. The Persian vision of paradise becomes reality in the realm of eternal love, where the gardens of earth merge with the gardens of heaven, and where all who have ever dreamed of beauty find their dreams fulfilled beyond their wildest imagination. 130. Rest now in perfect peace, knowing that you have journeyed through the complete story of ancient Persia and carry within you the eternal wisdom that flows from the divine source of all truth, beauty, and love that illuminates creation. 101. The gentle waters of eternity carry the final blessings of our Persian journey toward the infinite sea of divine grace, where all human achievements find their completion and all seekers find their home in perfect love. 101. In the timeless embrace of Persian peace, where the ancient and eternal meet in perfect harmony, sleep deeply and dream of gardens where every flower blooms with divine beauty and every fountain sings with celestial music. 102. The story of ancient Persia becomes one with the eternal song of divine love, as all earthly achievements flow toward their completion in the infinite mystery that surrounds and sustains all creation with perfect love. 102. Sleep now and forever in the gentle embrace of the eternal garden, where the Persian vision of paradise lives on in the realm of perfect peace, and where all who seek truth and beauty find their ultimate home in infinite love. 103. The ancient waters of Persian wisdom flow on through eternity, carrying the dreams of kings and poets, fire priests and philosophers, toward the limitless ocean of divine love that embraces all creation in its gentle, eternal flow. 103. In the peaceful silence where all of Persia's glory rests in eternal peace, rest now and always, knowing that you are beloved, that you are part of the great story of divine love, and that you find your perfect home in infinite grace. 104. The Persian legacy merges with the eternal flow of divine love itself, as the gentle currents of grace carry all human dreams toward their fulfillment in the infinite paradise that awaits all who seek truth, beauty, and love. 104. Sleep deeply in the timeless peace of the eternal garden, where the achievements of ancient Persia bloom forever in the realm of divine love, and where all who have ever sought paradise find their dreams fulfilled beyond measure. 105. The gentle breezes of eternity carry the final whispers of our Persian journey toward the infinite horizon of divine love, where all stories find their completion and all hearts find their perfect rest in eternal peace. 105. Rest peacefully now, heir to Persian wisdom, knowing that the eternal flame burns forever in the realm of divine love, illuminating the path for all who seek to create beauty, serve truth, and find their home in infinite grace. 106. The ancient story of Persia draws to its gentle conclusion in the realm of perfect love, but the greater story flows on like the eternal river, carrying the blessings of human civilization toward the infinite mystery of divine grace. 106. In the final silence where all dreams become reality, sleep now and always in the knowledge that you are part of the eternal garden, where the Persian vision of paradise lives on forever in the gentle embrace of infinite love. 107. The waters of the eternal fountain carry the legacy of ancient Persia toward the infinite sea of divine love, where all human achievements merge with the perfect peace that surpasses understanding and embraces all creation. 107. Sleep deeply in the embrace of Persian eternity, where the gardens of earth become the gardens of heaven, and where all who have ever dreamed of beauty find their dreams fulfilled in the infinite realm of perfect love and peace. 108. The gentle voices of Persian history join the eternal chorus of divine love, singing of achievements that transcend time and inspire all who seek to create something beautiful and lasting in service to the highest good. 108. Rest now in the timeless peace of the eternal garden, knowing that the Persian story lives on forever in the realm of divine love, where all seekers find their home and all dreams find their perfect fulfillment. 109. The ancient flames of Zoroastrian wisdom merge with the eternal light of divine love, illuminating the path toward truth and righteousness for all who follow the Persian example of dedication to justice, beauty, and peace. 109. Sleep peacefully in the gentle embrace of infinite grace, where the Persian vision of paradise becomes the ultimate reality, and where all who have ever sought the divine light find their perfect rest in eternal love. 110. The story of ancient Persia reaches its peaceful conclusion in the realm of eternal love, but the greater story flows on like the eternal river, carrying the accumulated wisdom of ages toward the infinite horizon of divine possibility. 110. In the gentle darkness where all of Persia's glory rests in perfect peace, let the ancient blessings carry you softly into the deepest sleep, surrounded by love and inspired by the eternal promise of infinite beauty and truth. 111. The Persian legacy becomes one with the eternal flow of divine grace, as the gentle waters of paradise carry all human achievements toward their completion in the infinite mystery that calls to every generation seeking truth and love. 111. Rest now in perfect peace, knowing that you have journeyed through the complete story of ancient Persia and carry within you the eternal wisdom that flows from the divine source of all beauty, truth, and love. 112. The gentle sound of eternal fountains carries the final echoes of our Persian journey toward the infinite garden of divine love, where all dreams are fulfilled and all seekers find their home in perfect peace. 112. Sleep deeply in the embrace of Persian eternity, where the ancient and eternal merge in perfect harmony, and where the vision of paradise becomes reality in the gentle flow of infinite love and grace. 113. 00. The waters of eternity carry the dreams of ancient Persia toward the limitless sea of divine love, where all human aspirations find their completion, and all hearts find their perfect rest in infinite peace. 113. 30 asterisk in the timeless silence of the eternal garden, where the Persian story lives on forever. Rest peacefully and dream of infinite beauty, knowing that you are beloved and find your home in the gentle embrace of divine love. 114. 00. The ancient story of Persia draws to its gentle close, but the greater story of divine love flows on like the eternal river, carrying the blessings of human civilization toward the infinite mystery that embraces all creation. 114. 30. Sleep now and forever in the peaceful embrace of the eternal garden, where the achievements of ancient Persia bloom in perfect beauty, and where all who seek truth and love find their ultimate fulfillment in infinite grace. 115. 00. The Persian vision of paradise becomes reality in the realm of eternal love, where the gentle waters of divine grace carry all dreams toward their perfect completion in the infinite peace that surpasses all understanding. 115. 30 asterisk rest peacefully in the timeless embrace of Persian wisdom, knowing that you are part of the eternal story of divine love, and that the gentle currents of grace carry you always toward the infinite home of perfect peace and beauty. 116. 00. The gentle breezes of eternity whisper the final blessing of our Persian journey. Rest well, beloved soul, for you have seen the glory of human achievement, and know that the eternal garden blooms forever in the realm of infinite love. 116. 30 asterisk in the peaceful silence where all stories find their completion. Sleep deeply and dream of eternal beauty, knowing that the Persian legacy lives on forever in every heart that seeks truth, creates beauty, and serves love. 117. 00. The ancient waters of Persian wisdom flow on through eternity, carrying the final echoes of our journey toward the infinite sea of divine love, where all human dreams find their perfect fulfillment in eternal peace. 117. 30. Sleep now in the gentle embrace of the eternal garden, where the Persian vision of paradise becomes reality, and where all who have ever sought the divine light find their perfect rest in infinite love and grace. 118. 00. The story of ancient Persia becomes one with the eternal song of divine love, as all earthly achievements merge with the infinite mystery that calls every generation to reach toward truth, beauty, and perfect peace. 118. 30 asterisk rest peacefully now, heir to Persian greatness, knowing that the eternal flame burns forever in the realm of divine love, and that you find your home in the infinite garden where all dreams bloom in perfect beauty. 119. 00. The gentle waters of eternity carry the legacy of ancient Persia toward the limitless horizon of divine grace, where the Persian story finds its completion, and where all seekers find their perfect rest in infinite love. 119. 30 asterisk in the final silence where all of Persia's glory rests in eternal peace. Sleep deeply and dream of infinite possibilities, knowing that you are beloved, and that the gentle currents of divine love carry you always toward perfect peace. 120. 00. The ancient story of Persia draws to its peaceful conclusion in the realm of eternal love, where the gardens of paradise bloom forever, and where all who have ever dreamed of beauty find their dreams fulfilled beyond imagination in the infinite embrace of divine grace.